Today on CityCast Austin, the holiday hustle is happening at the Austin Bergstrom International Airport. And y'all know that means lines, delays, and general grumpiness. So I'm here with KUT's transportation reporter, Nathan Bernier, to talk about staffing shortages, near misses, ground stops, and the 60-plus airport improvement projects underway. It's Wednesday, December 18th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I am here today with Nathan Bernier, transportation reporter at KUT. I'm super excited that you're here. I told some friends that I was going to be talking to you, and they got very excited.
Wow.
They knew exactly who you were.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's
they
cool.
knew exactly who you were, and they were like, oh my God, I love him.
Wow.
And one of my friends was like, I have a crush on him. And I was like, okay, well,
Dang.
Thank you for sharing.
That's so cool. I had no idea, because I'm just out here like putting news out. It goes out in the air. I don't really know. So that's fantastic.
Listen, you have admirers.
That makes me feel really good because mostly I just hear from haters. So that's cool.
Yes. Well, we got to give you all of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a mix.
So you've been reporting lately about something that's pretty scary at the airport. We have about half as many air traffic controllers as we should. Off top, how bad of a problem is this?
I mean, it kind of remains to be seen. You are correct. There are half as many as there should be 60, according to a staffing plan that was developed by the FAA and the Controllers Union. And there is right now the FAA says 33. Lloyd Doggett, who has, the local congressman who has access to FAA staffers and can get a little more info, says 2 of those controllers are actually medically unable to do their jobs, and another 2 are leaving. So there's 29 instead of 60. And
wow,
this is so there's 2 sort of big aspects to this from a traveler perspective that I see, which is the first is delays. There was a ground delay at Austin Bergstrom International Airport. What that is the FAA says, we are going to limit how many planes can land per hour for safety's sake because we're short-staffed in the air traffic control. So that meant almost 200 flights were delayed. The average delay was like 93 minutes, but some were delayed by more than 2 hours.
Wow.
And that's just one of the, obviously you have delays often when you're leaving the airport. So, this is happening at airports around the country because this is a national problem. It's not just unique to Austin, of course. The second issue though, Nikki, is that we've had at least six near misses that we know about since 2022. And some of these have been this could have been like the most catastrophic thing that's ever happened in Austin. We're talking about the most recent was in October. There was a small Cessna plane that almost crashed head on with an American Airlines jet filled with passengers. This is a 737.
Oh my God.
And it came within 350 feet.
350 feet?
That's what the preliminary assessment says. Now, is that because, they didn't have enough controllers? The investigation will probably determine that, hopefully. But this is the main concern. Again, back to Lloyd Doggett, he's been a congressman forever, but this airport thing he's taken on in the past 2-3 years or so. And he and his staff really have been able to dig up information. They've shared it with the local media. It's spurred more reporting by myself and colleagues, people at other news organizations and stuff. And it's a super, super big issue.
So they know that they have this shortage. They know that they can only allow a certain amount of planes to land per day. Do they adjust how many flights they sell? It makes sense to me that it would be okay, so if we know we can only land X amount of planes, and that means we got to not allow, we got to trim down on the amount of flights that we sell or that coming in on this day. Do they do that?
They're not right now. I mean, this was just a one-day event, so this does not happen I don't know. There was another one, I think about a month prior, but it was unclear if that was related to staffing. The question you raised has been come up in the conversation. So there's this panel of about 15 people who are appointed by city council members to oversee the airport. It's called the Airport Advisory Commission because this is a city-owned airport. This is locally owned. Like we as taxpayers, we own this airport publicly. And so the job of this body is to basically meet with the senior executives once a month. And this is a public meeting. Anyone can go to it or watch it online. There's a lot of great information that comes out of these, actually. On multiple occasions, members of this board have said, does it make sense to keep allowing more and more and more flights to be booked at ABIA?
Right.
Now, the reaction from aviation department staff with the city has always been, well, we're going to keep allowing, we're going to allow airlines to book as much as they want. And they've even said, "Oh, we can't limit that." I don't know if that's a separate issue if they can or can't. But I will tell you, Nikki, that the number of nonstop departures from Austin is actually down about 10% from this time last year. So there were 261 flights leaving Austin per day in December 2023, and now it's down to 235.
Okay.
And like traffic volumes are down. So, but at the same time, it gets confusing because 6 of the 10 busiest days in ABIA history were this year.
Wow.
Even as traffic volumes decline. So what's happening is you have certain days where it's just like wild off the charts. Like the day after F1, there was more than 44,000 passengers, and that was the busiest day in airport history.
I remember that. Yeah.
But the thing is like, that doesn't always mean that there's going to be crazy lines because that's just one factor. The other is the TSA staffing.
Yeah.
So there's so many moving parts here.
I actually want to get to that because that's my next point. Do we have any idea how we got here? Like, how did we get to this staffing deficit and what are they doing to address the problem in the tower?
Really good question. So the shortage of controllers is a situation that has been going on for years, decades. It's not an issue that I've spent a lot of time reporting on, like the nationwide problem, but I've spoken to some controllers, like actual air traffic controllers, who just told me that like there's so many problems with recruitment and just the way that the whole system is set up, and that there could be some changes done to make it easier. Now, the federal government is saying, like the FAA is saying, look, we are on a hiring spree. They told me they've hired 3,300 controllers in the last 2 years, and they plan to hire 2,000 more controllers in 2025.
Wow.
The FAA reauthorization, which was a bill that passed Congress in May that basically reauthorized funding for the FAA, bipartisan legislation. It says in that bill, in that law now, that the FAA must hire controllers as fast as possible. But then there's like a comma, within their budget and within the, the realm of possibility. But they're on a mission to fix this. But I've been told by controllers who've been working in the system that it's going to take years to get up to the staffing levels that they need to. So even though they're hiring and hiring and hiring and hiring, there's such a shortage at airports nationwide. And another issue that I've heard is that you don't always get to pick which airport you go to, especially as a junior controller or a controller in training. What? So that kind of can limit who's going to apply for the job, especially if you have family somewhere. That's just one of many factors that are kind of making it a more complex problem to fix. But there is money being thrown at this, and the FAA is like, we're going full steam ahead. The new administrator of the FAA, Michael Whitaker, testified to Congress that, like, look, it's a long pipeline, but we are like starting to fill it up.
Man, you would think that with such a shortage, they would relax on some of those rules because I mean, even if you do offer me a job, I'm thinking in my head, if it's in a place that I have no interest in going or no community or no, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how likely I would be to take that job.
Right. Well, the benefit is 6-figure salaries.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, now you're talking. You did. Okay. Yep. So you mentioned earlier another bottleneck that we get at ABIA is from the lack of TSA workers. So I always feel really bad for TSA workers because I think when you're traveling, you're either excited and you're like, yes, yeah, hell yeah, I'm going on vacation, or you're just miserable. And the people that get the brunt of that are the TSA workers, I feel like. Tell us a little bit about that problem and like, what are they doing to address it?
Well, I think you're right. I mean, these TSA workers, anyone who's worked in customer service can know
Exactly.
how difficult it can be.
Exactly.
But imagine working in customer service. I mean, they're officers, but they're dealing with the public. They
and by
are
the thousands. There are thousands and thousands of customers on top of that.
And it's one after the other all day long. And you have a very important job. I mean, the TSA's number one priority is safety.
Safety.
Of course.
Yes.
So you have to make sure that no one's bringing anything bad on those planes.
And also you have to repeat the same thing over and over all day. And, it's like, and people act like it's the first time they've heard it.
Right. And you hear these stories about people bringing they're going home for Thanksgiving and they haven't traveled in a while and they've got like a chef's knife in their carry-on.
Yeah.
Or I've heard of a TSA employee told me yesterday, people bringing cast iron pans in their carry-on or, anything that can be used to bludgeon someone is basically not permitted. There's firearms, people bringing loaded pistols through TSA security.
What?
So it's a tough job.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They are short-staffed at ABIA. They will not tell me. The TSA will not tell me. The airport will not tell me. I've not been able to figure out most recently how many TSA agents they have. But the TSA has this thing called the National Deployment Force. Essentially, what they do is send TSA officers around the country to airports with staffing shortages. They're sending about 24 TSA employees to Austin to deal with the holiday crowds. But the thing is, Nikki, while it is a popular time of year to travel, what I was told yesterday is that the busiest day of the holiday travel season is expected to be this upcoming Friday, December 20th. And that's going to be about 35,000 passengers expected. So that's a lot, but it's not going to crack the top 10. Again, passenger volumes don't always dictate how bad it's going to be. 2 weeks ago, on December 2nd and December 6th, Monday and Friday, the lines were so bad, the TSA lines, that they stretched out the door of the Barbara Jordan terminal and onto the sidewalk.
What?
And that's been happening for years, though. And the former CEO of the airport, Jacqueline Yaft, wrote to the TSA 2 years ago. I have the letter. And she said, please send, I'm paraphrasing here, of course, but she's basically like, please send more agents. Not only is it super annoying for passengers to have to, when these lines wrap outside, but she said it could create soft targets, basically. And I think, we know what that means.
Oh.
So there's a security concern there too.
Of course.
So the TSA, it's the same thing. They do hiring fairs. They're trying to boost their ranks and bring more people in as best they can. As far as those lines stretching outside, though, there is one thing that will hopefully stop that, even if TSA doesn't fix its problem. Because TSA right now has more security lanes than ever at the airport. Even though they closed Checkpoint 3, they have 20 lanes right now. They brought in more technology than ever to help with screening.
Oh, yeah. Those big white bullet, weird-looking ones. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a couple different machines, X-ray machines and stuff like that. But what the airport is doing as part of its multi-billion-dollar expansion, they're doing a bunch of big stuff, and they're doing some smaller stuff as well. And one of the things they're working on is, when you go to the airport and you're in baggage claim, there's that big atrium that goes up 2 stories. So they're going to cover that with a floor, and it's basically just going to create a whole bunch of space for people to line up.
Yeah.
So the lines don't have to stretch outside. And that's supposed to be done by sometime in 2026. So hopefully within the next couple years, there won't be any more lines stretching outside.
Hey y'all, it's Nikki. I have to tell you about Tecovas boots. I finally have a pair, and I don't know if y'all know this, but they're handmade, high quality, and stylish. And they're comfortable right outside of the box. Now, I know we buy everything online these days, but trust me, you have to get fitted for some boots at Tecovas. Now, whether you're like me, a newbie to boots, or you have a closet full of them, the folks at Tecovas will help you find your next favorite pair. So, Grab a friend, head on over to the Tecovas flagship on South Congress or their store at the Domain. Plus, good news, they just opened a store in Georgetown at 709 Main Street for those of you that live just a little further north. With 3 locations in town, you have no excuses. So that's tecovas.com, TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. Big picture is, we have completely outgrown our airport. Like, that's just, it is what it is. It was built to accommodate 15 million people. We got way more than that. And right now there's something like 60 projects underway at the airport. And so, you've just told us about one. How would you describe what the next few years are going to look like considering these projects?
Wow. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of construction going on, and airport staff have said this is obviously going to be a little bit disruptive. They're going to minimize it as much as they can, but you can't you can't increase the capacity of an airport without breaking some eggs, basically. In terms of specific, specific inconveniences, well, okay, the big picture is, it might take a little longer for your flight to reach the runway when you're taxiing around, or you might have to take a detour to go like an extra, 500 steps to get here, and some of those detours, at least one of them is already happening, I think, in terms of exiting the airport. But so as you said, you're right, there's about 60 projects going on here, and under this big umbrella of the Airport Expansion and Development Program, which they realized is not very catchy, so they branded it Journey with AUS. So that's
that'll take away the sting of waiting for 2 hours. Journey.
It's a journey. It's a journey to an airport with a higher capacity. We're traveling together. But internally, they all just call it AEDP. That's more of an externally facing thing, an outward facing thing. But so there's a bunch of projects, and I have the big one. The biggest two, Nikki, are number one, building $1 billion concourse that's attached to the Barbara Jordan Terminal via underground tunnel. You may have heard about this. It'll have at least 20 gates to start. And that's going to be coming around 2030, they say. They've already put out the contracts and hired the companies to do this. The second big project is, they call it the Arrivals and Departures Hall. Basically what they're doing is if you've been to the airport, you come up Presidential Boulevard, and, to say someone's dropping you off and you're on that second floor. And so to your left, as you're being dropped off, is the red garage. That's the closest one in, the most expensive one.
Yeah.
They're going to demolish that. And where that sits, they're going to build and put a new building, 2-story building. I believe it's at least 2 stories. And that's going to be their Arrivals and Departures Hall. It's basically just going to have more space for ticket counters. I think there might be some international baggage claim there. And then they're going to take Presidential Boulevard, where it goes now, decommission that road, and reroute the road in front of this new Arrivals and Departures Hall. And it's going to be much bigger, a much larger road to accommodate all of the different traffic. So if you remember, this is super annoying for most people. It's the complaint I hear most about is they took rideshare and they put it in the garage.
The back of Beyond, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The blue garage. You got to hike. And when it's 100 degrees outside and you're lugging 50 pounds of luggage, it's not fun for me. And I can't imagine it's much more difficult, obviously, for those with mobility issues.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
People think it's ridiculous. You arrive in Austin, you arrive in this pretty cool airport. There's guitar statues and local flavor everywhere. You get outside, especially in the summer, those sliding doors open, and wham, you get hit in the face with that hot humidity. And then you're like, where is rideshare? Wait, I gotta go here. And they do have a shuttle, which I've taken before, and it's pretty good. But still, with the shuttle, you got to load your stuff. You got to wait for it. And it's not a huge wait, maybe 5 minutes. But, me, I'm just going to hop on the elevator or even drag my stuff up the stairs. I get it's kind of like a first world problem, right? But it's still annoying. Especially after a long flight and you just want to get home, or you're coming to this city and this is your first impression. It's why is this like this?
Yeah.
But the reason why airport staff say they've done this is because they say the traffic volumes would just be way too large out front with all of the new flights, all of the increased traffic, and you have the cars, picking up their family members and stuff. And then to throw in those, then you'd have to also throw in the taxis, and the taxis, that's a whole other thing. Like those guys are waiting, and gals are waiting, 2 hours or more just for one ride to downtown. So, adding all those cars in, it might make it harder for folks who are just driving to pick people up.
Austin has me so traumatized with my first world problem when I show up to other cities and I just walk over 3 lanes and it's like, Lyft is right here. I'm like, Oh my God. I just walked out and it's right here. What kind of world is this?
I know.
Like it feels so like I've been given a treat.
The last flight I took was to Newark, you walk outside and there's just signs. It's just right there on the sidewalk, and there's specific zone. And when you order your Uber or Lyft, it tells you, okay, go to this number zone, like go to Lyft zone 6, and you just walk there. And so you're not like with a whole crush of people trying to find their Lyft. You have your area, they have theirs, and everything is like super organized and easy. It would be great to have something like that in Austin.
I cannot wait.
So the good news is, if this is a problem for you, and I think it is for most people who use rideshare or take taxis, the airport staff have said they want to bring it back to the curb. After this new arrivals and departures hall is built and the new road is put there.
I love that.
The kind of bad news is that it's basically going to be in the same location anyway, because everything is getting pushed out. So you basically have to walk just as far, but it'll be more of it will be in air conditioning. So that's a plus.
Yeah, little victories.
Exactly. You take the wins where you can get them.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 big ones. But of course, there's other stuff happening too. Because they're tearing down the red parking garage, they want to build a new parking garage. This is going to be called right now it's called West Garage Lot B. There's the Westgate expansion where they're adding a lot of space to the west end of the airport. There's been like a new cargo building that has basically been activated. I mean, it's this huge cargo facility, which they began building around the pandemic when cargo volumes just like went insane because everyone was buying stuff online. And you get like Amazon planes, there's landing at the airport. And then there's like stuff like the new fuel facility, which was people who live near that were kind of disturbed by like putting these gigantic fuel tanks there. There's the expansion of Checkpoint 3. They're doing they're called midfield taxiways. And these are basically the roads that planes take to get taxiways to get to and from the runways, like from the apron to the runway.
Yeah.
There's just like so much stuff going on.
This is a lot.
Yeah. Like a new utility plant, like stuff you don't even think about. I wouldn't think about like a new utility plants to like a central building for like electricity and water and stuff.
Yeah.
So much going on, Nikki.
Oh my gosh. It seems like something like this means like more staff, more people, more congestion, more things happening, more delays inside the airport. So is traveling through the airport going to look any different while these projects are taking place?
I think so. I do. I think it's going to be kind of rough. I mean, I don't know. Like, again, I've not reported in the past on a project like this, so I've not personally witnessed it up close. But common sense. Like, so the thing about the airport that I think a lot of people don't get is that it's not just the city. Like, it's the city. The city does a lot, but then there's also, the airlines. There's like so many businesses that are kind of operating in this little mini city at the airport. But those lines, those are the cities. Like the city is helping to manage those lines. Obviously, the city's not TSA. They can't like do much about that besides create extra lanes, which they have done, creating more than ever, up to 20. But the aviation department is short-staffed. I mean, it has gotten better, but right now they're at a 16% vacancy rate. So they're trying to hire people. But you are absolutely right. I mean, when they expand this airport, they're going to need a lot more employees.
Yeah.
They're going to be generating a lot more revenue. I mean, the airport is a self-sustaining enterprise. They don't, like, our property taxes or sales taxes don't pay for the airport. It's the money they get from airlines, and they charge like all of the concessions, like the businesses in there, they get a kickback, which is one of the reasons why things cost so much more at the airport. But yeah, I mean, they're going to need to hire more folks. It's a big challenge.
It's smart. So, okay. So clearly it's a crazy time to travel, but we got to do it anyway. Tons of people do it. What is your best piece of advice for folks that are flying out of ABIA right now?
Oh, man. I would say, like, first of all, okay, I have come very close to missing flights before. I do not like that feeling at all. It is a no feeling.
I hate it. I hate it.
Austin's airport is pretty nice. I mean, when it's not super crowded and like jam-packed with people, it's a lot better. I mean, I've been to airports where it's all like fast food everywhere. At least Austin, you've got some local places like, Peach Tortilla, Amy's Ice Cream, Hutt's Hamburgers, even though those are all run by large multinational corporations. I mean, there's 3, they're called concessionaires at the airport that operate all of those businesses, and they basically buy the franchise rights. But it's still nice. I mean, it's still nice. Better than whatever McDonald's and Burger King. I mean, nothing against those. I'll eat those sometimes too. But my advice is just to show up early. 2.5 hours is what they say before domestic, 3 hours before international flights. And then just, expect that it'll be bad, but then be pleasantly surprised if you're through security in 15 minutes, and then just chill at the gate.
Just chill out.
That's what I like to do. That's my advice. I talked to one woman who told me her tip is to fly on Christmas Day.
My partner said that too. Yeah.
I've never done that, but she said it's a great way to travel because everything is calm and people are in a Christmassy mood maybe. I don't know. But personally, I mean, I like the later flights. Some members of my family like to hop on the super early flights because there's maybe less risk that I'll get delayed, but I like
absolutely not.
Yeah, I know. If you're going to show up 2.5 hours, I don't know, you're getting up at 3 a.m. and then being tired all day. It's already going to be tired from traveling. So
yeah,
I like if you can swing it, maybe a later flight, show up early and just grab a coffee from Ruta Maya and stare at my phone or crack open my laptop, whatever,
Yeah.
And if you get there early at the gate, you're more likely to get a nice seat. You're not going to show up where all the seats are taken.
I mean, you're speaking my language. I am a 2+ hours at the airport early person. I always have. It doesn't matter what time of year I travel. I had to run through the airport once, and it only took one time for me to have to run. I was like, nope, I don't like this. And I still missed my flight. Ran through the airport, still missed my flight. And I was like, it just took one time. I was like, I'm never doing this again. I would rather sit for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And let's say I get there early and I get through security in 10 minutes, then I've just gotten through security in 10 minutes. It's gravy. It's fine. I get a book. I'd put my headphones on and that's it.
That's it. And so what happens when I've never missed a flight?
Oh, it was a nightmare. So I missed a flight coming home from Chicago. We got up late and we got a late start and we thought we had more time than we did. And we were those people that I see in line that are just like panic and ask. And at one point my sister started asking people if we could skip. We were just trying to get there. We still missed it. And so we had to go to the counter and we're like, we missed our flight. And they were like, you can just buy another flight. Or we can just put you on standby. So we just waited on standby for 6 hours and then finally there was something crazy at 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. There was a flight coming back through and it hopscotched us. So it was we went from Chicago to St. Louis to Dallas.
Wow.
It was just
all over the country.
All over the country. But we had to take it because we didn't have the money to just buy another flight.
Yeah, I'd imagine buying a flight last minute like that, it's going to be top dollar.
Yeah. So we just had to take what we could get. They only had to have me once. That was it. I was like, oh no, I'll never be late again, ever. Because you could get to the airport early or you could waste 8 hours of your life. So I'm going to be nosy again. So you mentioned earlier Ruta Maya Coffee. Do you have any other ABIA pre-flight stops that you are when I get there, I always go here? For me, it's the second bar and kitchen because they have a good mimosa, and 9 times out of 10, it doesn't matter how early you can get a mimosa. But do you have any other pre-flight places you'd like to go?
I always want to grab a drink. So I grab a coffee or a Diet Coke or something like that. I've not partaken in as many of these. I still haven't been to the Huts in there. I have tried Peach Tortilla. I've had lunch there. That was really good.
Yeah.
But my thinking in this is okay, I'm going somewhere. I kind of want to save my money for when I get there. If I'm going to New York, I don't want to spend whatever, $15
Yeah.
eating a taco in Austin when I'm about to go to New York and try something there that I can't normally get, you know?
See,
So
that's a logical response. That's a logical plan versus like, okay, I'm at the airport. I got an hour to get ripped so that I can fall asleep on the panel.
well, no, but like I've been to traveling to Vegas, for example. That's a time where, hey, I'm in a party mood as soon as I get to the airport. I do want to grab a beer or a drink, especially if we get through security in 15 minutes and I got 2 hours to kill.
You celebrate.
It's a later flight, why not just get the party started?
I love that. So overall, do you have an idea, just overall, what ABI's reputation is for travelers? Like, do they love it or hate it? Like, do we make any kind of lists? Just overall.
There are a whole bunch of different airport rankings, Nikki. One of the closely watched ones is the J.D. Power North America Airport Satisfaction Study.
Sounds very fancy. I like it.
Oh, yeah, it's very fancy. They have a little SM after the word study, which I don't even know what that means. But so Austin is ranked, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11th. 11th. That's not bad.
That's not bad.
That's for large airports. That doesn't include the mega airports. That's its own category. Like,
okay.
JFK and DFW. But, Dallas Love Field is 4th. The Hobby Airport in Houston is like 6th.
Oh, wow.
We are just behind San Jose and just above Louis Armstrong in New Orleans.
Okay. Okay. That's not bad.
I do feel that the crowd situation has hurt the airport's reputation a little bit. Like, imagine an airport, as you said, this is built for $15 million and it's handling over $20 million a year. Yeah. Imagine it. I remember a time when it was under $15 million before the pandemic. Yeah. Like, I think 2019, I think it was $17 million. Before that, it was under $15 million. And I recall it being quite pleasant. And again, with all those local businesses there, locally branded businesses, it's...
And there's music.
There's live music.
Yeah.
And it's not too big. Like you said, like O'Hare, my gosh, even DFW, it's
a city. DFW is a city.
And so Austin is totally manageable. But of course, it's going to get a lot bigger. Not quite DFW or O'Hare, but an additional 20 gates. We have 34 now. This is really being driven by the airlines because they're the ones who are going to be leasing these gates. If the airlines tell the airport something changes in the economy or whatever, and they say, you know what, we want 30 gates, the airport's going to build them 30. They can fit up to 40. They're closing the South Terminal because the taxiways will be on the South Terminal, but those taxiways are being moved there because of the new concourse. So it's all kind of interrelated.
Listen, I won't lie. I'm glad they're closing the South Terminal because every time I've ever been there, it's made me feel like I'm being like somebody is like, no, it's totally safe in this dark alley. Come here. Yeah. No, it's fine. We're not going to mug you. Come all the way over here. That's what it feels like.
I've never traveled through there. It seemed nice though, because the parking is like even closer in.
Yeah, the parking is great.
And they have the food trucks, like you can go outside and eat food trucks, but I've never flown through there.
Austin coming up, slowly but slowly. Is there anything else about ABIA traveling during the holidays that you want to add that maybe I didn't ask?
Well, it's the biggest cliche ever, but I would just say, pack your patience because you might run into stuff, expect the worst, and just be happy if it's not as bad as you think. And don't blame me if you show up 2.5 hours early and you get through security in 15 minutes. I have nothing to do with TSA staffing.
I love that. Pack your patience, y'all. Pack your patience. Right. Nathan, thank you so much for being here. This has been great.
I love talking to you, Nikki. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this. I don't think I've ever had a fun conversation talking about the airport. This has been awesome. That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Nathan's work and the journey with AUS in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.